We're back with Bobby and JJ Radio. Our show today is all about information protection and operation security, and we're talking with David and Brian from David Schafer Law Offices about the legal side of dealing with identity theft. Now, guys, let's get back to your law office and specifically, why is it important to involve a lawyer when you feel like you've been a victim of identity theft?
The best reason is because most of the time, businesses don't believe you. There are tons of people that call up and say, I never purchased that. I don't know that.
Right.
That's not my debt. And so you can do that, and they simply will just ignore you because it's not in their best interest to give up a debt. Mm-hmm. And they know that if the debt's maybe $200 or $300 and they give you a hard enough time, you'll just pay it because you just don't want to have to deal with it.
And honestly, nothing scares someone like a lawyer calling them. Because that scares me. I don't want a lawyer calling me. I think I'm in trouble. So I figure you guys can get it done where we couldn't do anything. But what would it cost to fight something like this?
Well, sometimes we can take these cases on a contingency basis, which means that we don't get any money unless we collect money. Because sometimes, for example, if you have an identity theft issue, you're going to get a bunch of calls from debt collectors who say you owe the money, and they'll tell you really nasty things to get the $350 they say you owe. Mm. And sometimes we can get some money from those cases, and so we can do it where you don't give us anything up front. But sometimes, though, we do have to charge a retainer, and it usually depends on how much work. If you have one issue, it looks like it's an isolated issue, like 5 years ago my dad took my identity or something.
Yeah, an awkward Christmas reunion.
It's a great present, yeah.
It actually happens a lot more than you believe.
Whoa.
And so, if it's a one discrete issue, it's usually not very much. It could be a few $100s, and we do payment plans for people to kind of help them out if we know. And and it's all about generating a good clientele base and kind of taking care of the people in San Antonio.
Sure. Well, what's that process look like to get a lawyer involved? What's the timeline?
The timeline depends on how bad it is. If you haven't looked at your credit in 3 years and you just have all kinds of accounts, it could take a year and a half. But usually if it takes that long, it means that there's a lawsuit, which you might be able to get some money and recover the fees that you've paid us. But I think generally it would be about 6 to 10 months is pretty reasonable.
Wow.
But again, it depends on how often are you checking your reports, how much are you babysitting your own life.
Right. Well, yeah, that's a good point. So what happens when debt buyers buy the debt that was accrued by the identity thief?
Well, initially what will happen is they'll process that like any other debt that they've purchased. They'll start sending dunning letters, letting them know that they're the owner of the debt and that they want it paid and that you have a certain amount of time to dispute it. And if you during that time, you can send your dispute letter and maybe that will take care of it. But lots of times what happens is they buy them, the people either don't respond or maybe they don't even get the dunning letter, and they notice it's on their credit report when they go to buy a house or a car, and their credit has this ding on it. So once that happens, if you can't take care of it yourself, you can get us involved. We can send a demand letter that it be removed. We can challenge them on it. If they won't do it, then we can actually file a lawsuit to get that removed.
So what separates your law office from others when it comes to this issue?
Actually, there are probably only 3 or 4 other firms in San Antonio that do a lot of this type of law. And we devote all of our time to consumer protection type cases. And that's really what sets us apart. For the last 10 years, that's almost exclusively what we've been doing.
Oh, okay. Awesome.
How many, what's the percentage of cases that actually go to court?
On the identity theft
Yes.
cases, I'd say probably about half or so of the time we'll have a creditor that just doesn't want to let go of a debt. And so we may have to file a lawsuit or at least send a demand letter. If we can't get it resolved with a demand letter, then we file a lawsuit.
Okay. Well, you guys told us you're giving a free consultation away to our listeners. So tell us about that. What does that involve?
Well, about an hour of my day every day is spent talking to people from all over Texas about things that, claims they may have. And so we're always more than willing to meet people or talk to them over the phone about any problems they have. And, our kind of our mission statement and what we try to do is if I can't help you, if I tell you, listen, you don't have a case, or maybe, you know, it's a really simple solution. I feel like, you know, we not only want to give people consultations, we want to educate them. We want to let them know about their rights so that in the future they can kind of avoid these things from happening in the future.
Cool. So if you call today, right, after or anytime after listening to the show, call David Schafer Law Firm at 210-348-0500. You can talk to Brian Trenz, right, about a free consultation.
Sure.
And you can also visit their website at www.helpingtexas.com. We'll be right back after a few words from our show partners.